I greet people in various corners of our planet. Welcome to this third gathering of the Association of Southeast Nations. It's the third gathering that we organize since 2018. And since we have implemented a process of relations with ASEAN. This has been done over the last 3 years with the member countries of ASEAN accredited in Venezuela, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. In 2020, they are presiding over ASEAN, also with Malaysia, which has accompanied us in this process, and the Republic of Indonesia. Once we have solved a few technical matters, the public administration of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela is connected. There are 5 branches of power. And also we have the local regional governments and the major offices of local governments. Also, universities are connected together with the students. Therefore, using this platform, given the pandemic of 2020, we have a wider reach and a wider participation in comparison with the first meeting that took place in October 2018 in the headquarters of the Central Bank. The second meeting took place in the Teresa Carreño Theater with more than 300 people. And also, on that occasion, we had entrepreneurs, and there was a fair, an exhibit of our products and the potentials presented by Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam in the framework of this meeting. In the second gathering, we launched this book. The first book, written on ASEAN, Venezuela, and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, a group of friendship. And in this case, we're going to talk about the South-South cooperation in the path to peaceful development post-COVID-19. So we're going to start our second meeting. And after my brief introduction, we're going to have a video on the ASEAN. It is music, a musical video portraying the talent within this important organization. And then we're going to have the address by the Foreign Minister of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Mr. Jorge Arreaza. On behalf of the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, of the Foreign Minister, and the Bolivarian government, welcome to this third gathering of ASEAN in Venezuela. We start with the first video.
holds our hearts tight to keep us fight as one. No harm can defeat us, no pain can frighten us, since we are always one.
Harmony is what we believe in, no one will be left behind. So we can fly as one, blow our love to the sky, since we are always one.
Let's share our spirits to heal the world.
Let
our consonants speak out loud. Let the light of the east shine through the clouds. ASEAN still unites as one. Let's share our spirits to heal the world. Let consonants speak out loud. Let the light of the east shine through the clouds. ASEAN still unites as one. Our spirits to heal the world. Let our consonants speak out loud. Let the light of the east shine through the clouds. ASEAN still unites as our spirits to heal the world. Let our consonants speak out loud. Let the light of the east shine through the clouds. ASEAN still unites as one. ASEAN still unites as one. As we raise caring, as we raise sharing, ASEAN still unites as one. As we raise caring, as we raise sharing, ASEAN still unites as one. As we raise caring, as we raise sharing, ASEAN still unites as one.
ASEAN
en unidad.
is one,
Hermoso video
unity, wonderful video
Asociación de Naciones del
of
Sureste Asiático.
the Association of South Asian
Todas las
Nations.
expresiones musicales.
Wonderful expression of the musical instruments and the faces of the various population and wonderful geography of ASEAN. ASEAN is one.
Vamos con la presentación del
Next,
video de
we have the video of the Deputy Secretary of the General Secretary of ASEAN. We are going to hear from a high representative of the Secretary General for ASEAN, the Deputy
se va a dirigir a nosotros
General Secretary, who is going to address
muy sustantivo
us with a very important video
tercera jornada.
regarding this third gathering. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, good morning.
Buenos días,
Who are joining this one.
quienes se unen a nosotros de Caracas.
On behalf of the
En
ASEAN
nombre de la Secretaría de la ASEAN, quisiera transmitir de la reunión de los
Venezuela conference
¿Ah?
under the theme
No, no,
Management
está bien.
of the COVID-19 pandemic. in
Pero
Southeast
fíjense,
Asia.
pero al principio,
I would also like to take this opportunity to appreciate the contributions made by the ASEAN Committee in Caracas, which comprises of embassies in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Vietnam, in raising ASEAN's awareness in Venezuela through various initiatives, including their participation at the 3 iterations of this conference. I'm pleased to note Venezuela's growing interest to forge closer relations with ASEAN over the past years, including through series of this conference held since 2008. I share the timelines of this year's conference to reaffirm our commitment in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. I also hope that this conference will continue to serve as a platform for both sides to exchange views on potential areas of collaboration, with a view to deepen ties between ASEAN and Venezuela. While ASEAN is intensifying efforts to realize the ASEAN Community Vision 2025, establishing mutually beneficial relations with external partners is equally important. In this regard, we appreciate Venezuela's efforts in promoting cooperation with ASEAN as manifested through the appointment of its ambassador to ASEAN, as well as its request to assist with the TAC, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia. We also welcome Venezuela's engagement with respective ASEAN member states, as well as through inter-regional cooperation, namely CELAC, of which Venezuela plays an important role in. As we explore potential areas of cooperation based on our mutual interests, such as education and people-to-people exchanges, we should also place emphasis on shared priorities, including on public health emergencies. As such, please allow me to share briefly ASEAN's efforts in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the last 5 years have been an exceptional journey for ASEAN as it realized the transformation from an association to a community in 2015 and celebrated the 50th anniversary Golden Jubilee of its founding ASEAN in 2017. This year, under Vietnam's chairmanship, ASEAN remains focused in its integration process while jointly addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. Against the backdrop of the pandemic, the successful convening of the recent 37th ASEAN Summit via video conference last week was a clear illustration of ASEAN solidarity manifested in concrete regional cooperation as well as its strong partnership with its external partners. Together with the special ASEAN Summit in April and the 36th ASEAN Summit in June this year, the 37th ASEAN Summit has again reaffirmed ASEAN's resolve to work towards a regional recovery plan post-COVID-19. Towards this end, the leaders of ASEAN adopted and noted key frameworks and initiatives, including the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework and its implementation plan, the ASEAN Standard Operating Procedures for responding to public health emergencies, as well as the terms of reference of the COVID-19 response fund and the regional reserve of medical supplies for public health emergencies. In this spirit, we welcome possible cooperation with Venezuela towards a post-COVID-19 recovery out of the crisis and promoting longer-term resilience. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, if there is any lesson to be learned from this pandemic, it is the importance of international cooperation in an interconnected world where no single country can wrestle with such crisis alone. Tackling the pandemic and its socio-economic impact demands solidarity and action at all levels across the international community, and that is why ASEAN's collaboration on this front with external partners, including Venezuela, has become more relevant and pertinent than ever. In closing, rest assured that the ASEAN Secretariat stands ready to work closely with Venezuela in exploring mutually beneficial cooperation as we aim to positively contribute towards the maintenance of peace, stability, and prosperity in our respective regions. Lastly, I would like to again express my sincere appreciation to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Venezuela for inviting the ASEAN Secretariat to participate in this event, and I wish the conference a great success. I thank you.
Bueno, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much
General de la Asociación de
to
Naciones
the
Unidas
Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN
Política y Seguridad, Joan Antoine.
for the political and security community.
Observaron
As you heard,
marco de lo que esta
in the framework of this third meeting and within this, the motto of this meeting, he focused
miramos que siga siendo
on what we aspire
cooperación sur-sur
to be this
para avanzar en el desarrollo
gathering, South-South cooperation, path to peaceful development post-COVID-19. Thank you very much.
ministro y
Next, we give the floor to the Foreign Minister, People's Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, His Excellency Jorge Arreaza, who is going to mention the various aspects we've been advocating in Venezuela in the midst of this pandemic. Foreign Minister Arreaza, it's been minister for 3 years, but he has also held important responsibilities in the Bolivarian Revolution, first with Commander Chavez and now with President Maduro. Thank you very much. Rubén Darío, thank you. Thanks to all countries and governments of this important body, so important for the consolidation of the multipolar world. Since 1967, ASEAN has been teaching the world a type of integration which is cooperative. It started with political cooperation and then has become a comprehensive project of economic integration, guarantees of peace, act together to address the main challenges in a region, very complex region, no doubt, as all regions, by the way. The asymmetries have been one of the elements ASEAN has been able to address in order to make sure that the 10 members can feel in the peoples and the needs, the benefits of integration. And we need to remind this for the Venezuelan audience joining this gathering of ASEAN in Venezuela. We are talking about 10 sovereign nations: Brunei, Cambodia, Philippines, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And they represent close to 4 billion square kilometers, plus the maritime zone, which is even larger. And they have more than 600 million inhabitants. Therefore, ASEAN is very powerful. And it was clearly reflected in the signing of this major economic cooperation agreement with the People's Republic of China, Australia, and many other nations of that region of the Southeast Asia, Oceania, joining this main pact and give the world the pluripolar character it should have. In the 90s, after the Second World War, after 5 decades of the bipolar world and the Cold War, 2 blocks with 2 ideologies and conflicting interests, where peace was guaranteed, but in the midst of many regional conflicts, reflecting this paramount conflict. In the 90s, it was thought that given the collapse of the USSR and the end of a bipolar world and the unipolar world was imposed, was triumphant after the Cold War. But that was in the end not the case, because not only ASEAN but many other regional blocs were making huge strides, such as also the NAM movement, to whom Venezuela is a member, together with many other nations. Multipolarity, the existence of various power centers, can generate what Simon Bolivar said 200 years ago as the balance of the universe, the balance of our world in transition. As Mr. Juan Antoine, the Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN, rightly said, the pandemic of COVID-19 has been a major challenge to foster cooperation. We saw countries acting on their own or trying to do so. We saw government fighting over the input, over masks, the tests, hoarding medical inputs. The awful face of this crisis, of this pandemic, in attempt against the life of billions in the planet, those attacking multilateralism and undermining the effort of the WHO. And we saw the People's Republic of China reacting swiftly and strongly to control the pandemic in its large, vast territory, and offering its experience to benefit other countries so they can emulate the success and do not repeat the mistakes, the error they might have committed at the outset of this crisis. ASEAN, as the Deputy Secretary said, has played a major role in cooperation, has shown huge capacity of interaction, and no doubt you can see the results in the various member countries, how they have controlled the spread. In other cases, very successful, and they have clearly given an example to the world. We cannot say the same thing here. Ruben, in Latin America, we have not been able to emulate fully ASEAN. Here, because of various type of differences, we see nations such as Chile, Colombia, Brazil, where COVID-19 has had ominous effects on the population. But we have had ALBA. On the contrary, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Bolivia was out, but it is now in again. And the Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean nations, there we've been able to cooperate. And we are thinking about the vaccination of all the peoples of ALBA and beyond to encompass UNASUR and CELAC. So, from Venezuela, we want to recognize in this third gathering, we ratify the admiration we have for the Association of South Asian Nations, for their capacity, their institutions, their capabilities to have concrete effects on their peoples. And also, we want to convey what we did at the beginning of this year in writing our formal request so Venezuela can be part of the Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation of ASEAN, which is a major step forward for Venezuela to be able to entertain a closer relation, a far more productive relation with ASEAN, and with whose member we entertain already wonderful relations. This gathering, I would like to take the opportunity to greet the ambassadors, diplomatic chargé d'affaires of the member countries of ASEAN in Venezuela, such as Le Viet Duyen from Vietnam, the ambassador of Indonesia, Iman Muyono, and the chargé d'affaires of Malaysia, Muhammad Raisul Nizam bin Zulkifli. And they are going to be with us today together with the team of the Bank of Foreign Trade, the Venezuela Productive Organization. So you can convey to all the ASEAN institutions the possibility that exists for investment in Venezuela. If there is a country bullied, harassed, a country they have tried to stifle economically, the elite governing the U.S. have tried to do so, but the Latin American history is placed within the framework of a historical struggle between those who want to be sovereign, such as those within ALBA, and respect our differences, and a continuous annexionist effort from the elite governing the noble people of the U.S. This is a constant trait in international relations in this continent. However, beyond that conflict, Venezuela has opened great alliances with countries such as China, Russia, Turkey, India, and we want to open an alliance with the 10 member countries of ASEAN, where we do not have to rely on third parties and to work directly with them on investments with the companies in ASEAN. They are very much welcome in Venezuela. We have a new legal framework, a law to address the economic blockade, guaranteeing discretion in the negotiation process and all the information required, as well as opening fresh opportunities of productive alliances, legal security for those investments in Venezuela. And of course, we want to refer to an important aspect of cooperation, namely the cultural cooperation. We know about the wealth of culture of ASEAN, especially the ethnic groups, the various local expressions. You know about your wealth. And in America, our cultural wealth is vast. We've gone through colonial processes. We have freed ourselves, and we are developing. So we have many things in common. Today is a day of celebration. We send our fraternal greetings on behalf of President Nicolas Maduro Moros, who, by the way, told me recently when we received the credentials of the ambassador from Indonesia. He said, Ruben, and asked that we have to visit the member countries of ASEAN. The vice minister has already been there, but the foreign minister has this trip in his agenda. However, because of the pandemic, we have not been able to do so. However, dear brothers and sisters of the 10 member countries of ASEAN, you should note as soon as the restrictions are lifted, if you receive us, if you welcome us, we are willing to go there in order to strengthen even further our bonds and links. Thank you so much, and greetings from Venezuela to the 10 member countries of ASEAN. Thank you, Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza. Thank you for your guidance. The importance of multilateralism, unipolarity, and then we are back into constructive multilateralism, inclusive multilateralism, and in this framework, the importance of the various blocs worldwide. And in this case, this progressive association between the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and ASEAN. But also, as you mentioned, Minister, the importance of COVID and the actions undertaken and the vision of future regarding the elements required to link the Southeast Asia and the Latin American region with ALBA and SELAC. And also the expression of our people, the closeness of our people. And let me talk about the diplomacy of the peoples, the rapprochement among the peoples, because without the peoples there is no association. Without peoples there are no mechanisms of cooperation. Very well. Now we would like to hear from the ambassador of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, accredited before the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, who is going to deliver his address. They are the PTP of ASEAN at this moment, and Brunei Dar es Salaam will be the next PTP. In the framework of the pandemic, in the same fashion, we have not halted our actions. ASEAN has not halted. We have made adjustments to continue working. Therefore, this chairmanship has been very productive. So we give the floor to the ambassador of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, accredited before the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Honorable Señor Encargado de Negocios de Malasia, Mohamed Raisul Lisam. Distinguidos representantes de las autoridades venezolanas, estimados invitados. En primer lugar, debo mencionar que es para mí un verdadero placer dar estas palabras en la tercera jornada de la ASEAN. Quisiera expresar en más respetuoso saludo para todos los invitados en esta videoconferencia. Para Vietnam, el año 2020 es un año significativo al tener el honor de asumir la presidencia de la ASEAN. Vietnam ha determinado en el lema de la ASEAN es la cohesión y adaptación proactiva. La mayor prioridad de la ASEAN es la solidaridad y la cohesión, especialmente en un contexto de evoluciones complejas y una feroz competencia estratégica entre las potencias del mundo. Continúa promoviendo los vínculos regionales e implementa con éxito la visión de Comunidad ASEAN 2025, impulsa las relaciones profundas y sustanciales con los socios, aprovecha apoyo de los socios en respuesta a la pandemia COVID-19, promueve la recuperación pronto de la ASEAN, mejora y eleva la eficiencia operativa y el valor sostenible de los foros de diálogo y cooperación presididos y dirigidos por la ASEAN. Defiende los principios básicos de las relaciones internacionales. Mantiene un entorno pacífico y un espacio estable para el desarrollo regional. La pandemia COVID-19, que se extendió por todo el mundo desde principios de 2020, ha afectado los frutos de la humanidad acumulados durante muchos años, provocando muchas muertes y amenazando vidas de millones de personas. Debido a la pandemia, nos vimos obligados a cambiar nuestras formas de operar nuestro trabajo frente a desafíos sin precedentes. En calidad de presidente pro tempore de la ASEAN 2020, Vietnam ha dirigido de manera proactiva y oportuna al programa central de la ASEAN para responder a la pandemia de COVID-19 con medidas siguientes. En primer lugar, Vietnam ha cambiado de manera oportuna las reuniones en formato en línea para garantizar el intercambio de información y la coordinación sin problemas entre los países de la ASEAN, especialmente la cooperación en prevención y control de la pandemia de COVID-19. En particular, por primera vez en los 53 años de historia de la ASEAN, todas las reuniones se han realizado a través de las videoconferencias, lo que garantiza la eficiencia, la calidad, el ahorro de tiempo y recursos. En segundo lugar, Vietnam demuestra es un ejemplo de espíritu de cooperación internacional y apoyo mutuo en los momentos más urgentes y difíciles. Al inicio de la pandemia de COVID-19, en 14 de febrero de 2020, primer ministro de Vietnam, Nguyen Xuân Phúc, emitió la declaración del presidente de la ASEAN, afirmando a la alta determinación y el compromiso político de la ASEAN a fin de controlar y prevenir la pandemia. De acuerdo con la propuesta de Vietnam, el sistema de respuesta médica de emergencia de la ASEAN y la cooperación con los socios se han activado desde el mismo inicio de la epidemia, junto con iniciativas como la creación de fondo de COVID-19, el depósito de insumos médicos, el desarrollo del proceso estándar. Estas medidas son elogiadas por la comunidad de la ASEAN, fortaleciendo la unidad en la ASEAN a fin responde a la pandemia de manera efectiva. A pesar de las dificultades en la actualidad, Vietnam ha controlado totalmente la pandemia de COVID-19 y los otros países de la ASEAN también están controlando gradualmente la pandemia y al mismo tiempo están promoviendo los esfuerzos de desarrollo comunitario. En tercer lugar, en espíritu de cohesión y adaptación proactiva en el año del presidente de la ASEAN 2020, ha ayudado a la ASEAN cada vez más sólida y enfrenta a la pandemia de manera exitosa, convirtiéndose en uno de los modelos a seguir del mundo. La conectividad en la región también se ha elevado a nuestros niveles. Durante la pandemia, la ASEAN ha demostrado las fuerzas de la comunidad, una fuerza central, madura y segura para dirigir la región a superar dificultades cada vez mayores por la paz, la estabilidad y la prosperidad. En los próximos tiempos, la ASEAN debe continuar haciendo bien en la prevención y control de la pandemia y al mismo tiempo enfocarse en la recuperación de la economía post-pandemia. La ASEAN acuerda sobre la necesidad de fortalecer aún más la solidaridad para construir una región de la ASEAN de paz, solidaridad, amistad y desarrollo. Vietnam ha realizado la prevención y control de la pandemia de COVID-19 con éxito. En 2020, solo se registra 1.180 casos contagiados en total y la mayoría se recuperan. En la actualidad, Vietnam aumenta la vigilancia en COVID-19 y no baja la guardia. La reanudación de vuelos comerciales con varios países se ha implementado con cautela y de modo gradual. A pesar del impacto de la pandemia, se prevé un crecimiento del Producto Interno Bruto de Vietnam en 2020 es de 2%. Los éxitos antes mencionados gracias a los esfuerzos, la solidaridad y adaptación proactiva de los países de la ASEAN, con el papel de dirección de Vietnam como presidente de la ASEAN 2020. La ASEAN en general y Vietnam en particular estamos a disposición de brindar nuestros apoyos en informaciones, experiencias y recursos para el gobierno y el pueblo venezolano. En los últimos tiempos, los funcionarios y empleados de las tres embajadas de Vietnam, Indonesia y Malasia han entregado una pequeña donación de los insumos médicos para la Cancillería de Venezuela, mientras la Asamblea Nacional de Vietnam y las empresas vietnamitas han donado más de 200.000 mascarillas para el gobierno y el pueblo de Venezuela, como manera de expresar la solidaridad para superar los desafíos en la lucha contra la pandemia COVID-19. Antes de terminar, quisiera expresar mis deseos de solidaridad de la comunidad de la ASEAN en Venezuela, así como de resultados fructíferos en las relaciones de amistad y cooperación entre la ASEAN y Venezuela, contribuyendo a la paz, la estabilidad y el desarrollo en las dos regiones y el mundo. Reitero mis agradecimientos al Ministerio del Poder Popular de Relaciones Exteriores y otras autoridades venezolanas por la excelente iniciativa de organiza la tercera jornada de la ASEAN en Venezuela, así como a las embajadas de Vietnam, Indonesia y Malasia por la coordinación estrecha en la realización exitosa de este evento. Les deseo a todos buena salud, felicidad y éxito. ¡Viva ASEAN! ¡Viva Venezuela! Muchas gracias.
Sobre la base de 5 décadas de desarrollo, la Asociación de Naciones del Sudeste Asiático, ASEAN, se está esforzando por construir una comunidad de paz, prosperidad y sostenibilidad. Como miembro activo y responsable de la ASEAN, Vietnam ha contribuido de manera proactiva a los esfuerzos compartidos de la comunidad. El 1 de enero de 2020, Vietnam ha asumido la presidencia de la ASEAN, la presidencia de la 41 Asamblea General de la Alianza Interparlamentaria de la ASEAN, AIPA. En esta capacidad, Vietnam contribuirá a la promoción de los intereses comunes de la ASEAN y al fortalecimiento de la cohesión entre los Estados miembros. En consecuencia, Vietnam prioriza el trabajo en estrecha coordinación con otros Estados miembros para promover el papel de la ASEAN en el mantenimiento de la paz, la seguridad y la estabilidad regional, promover la conexión regional e integración regional, mejorar la capacidad de respuesta de la ASEAN y aprovechar las oportunidades de la cuarta revolución industrial, elevar la consecuencia comunitaria e identidad de la ASEAN, promover asociaciones para la paz y el desarrollo sostenible, promover el papel y las contribuciones de la ASEAN a la comunidad global y fomentar la capacidad de respuesta y efectividad de la ASEAN. Como presidente de la ASEAN en 2020, Vietnam liderará la cooperación de la ASEAN, organizará y presidirá más de 300 reuniones y eventos. Vietnam está listo para la presidencia de la ASEAN. Las reuniones y actividades a lo largo de nuestra presidencia se organizarán en varias localidades de Vietnam, con el fin de promover una imagen de un pintoresco Vietnam y su gente hospitalaria. Bienvenido a Vietnam. ASEAN, cohesión y adaptación. Pensar en comunidad, actuar en comunidad.
Muchas gracias, señor embajador.
Thank you, dear Ambassador of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, accredited before the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela,
Le Viu Duyen.
Ambassador Le Viet Duyen. We need to stress, Mr. Foreign Minister, the elements presented by our dear ambassador with this wonderful video where they present Vietnam, the chairmanship of ASEAN. And there we have various elements, more than 300 meetings per annum. This clearly demonstrates the importance of this conglomerate of associated members in order to attain what Simon Bolivar said, the supreme happiness of people, but also to address the various interests, to put them on the table, and to reach the necessary agreements. Vietnam was established a number of objectives, and they were adapted to the pandemic crisis. Thank you very much, dear ambassadors. He also mentioned the various aspects addressed during this pandemic, and that have been very successful. When you see the figures, we see how successfully they have tackled the pandemic. The economy never stopped, production never stopped. Peoples, in a disciplined manner, they obeyed the rules and regulations to tackle COVID-19. Same thing like in Venezuela. We're following the 7x7 norm, 7 days of lockdown to preserve our health and to prevent the further spread of the pandemic, and 7 days of relaxation to foster production. So that was our contribution to these systems to address the pandemic. And also the molecule studied by our scientists, and this molecule is currently being studied by the WHO, a molecule that could be used to have an effective treatment against COVID-19. Once again, thank you very much, Ambassador. Next, we are going to give the floor to the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Iman Edith Mulyono. You have the floor, sir.
Excelentísimo señor Jorge Arreaza Montserrat, Ministro del Poder Popular para Relaciones Exteriores de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. Excelentísimo señor Rubén Darío Molina,
the Middle East and Oceania of the People's Power Minister for Foreign Affairs. His Excellency Guillermo Lara, President of Bangkok. His Excellency Le Viet Duyen, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Honorable Pak Raizul, Charge d'Affaires of Malaysia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on this auspicious occasion, allow me to express my appreciation and gratitude for your presence today. This meeting is a forum for exchanging ideas in finding real solution for Indonesia, Venezuela, and ASEAN in enhancing economic cooperation during and after pandemic COVID-19. First and foremost, I would like to reiterate the ASEAN Economic Community vision, which is to achieve free flow of trade in goods and services, investment, skilled labor, and free flow of capital. With ASEAN Economic Community vision, ASEAN is transforming into an economic community rather than just free trade agreement. While we share the same amount of population of around 600 million people in Latin America and the Caribbean, 80% of ASEAN population is in the productive age, less than 44 years old. This is a market for both consumer and productive labor force. Furthermore, in ASEAN and other parts of the world, including Latin America and the Caribbean, the pandemic has so far brought immediate disruption in economic activities across the region, as evident in the decline in tourism flows, disruption in air travels, and weakening in consumer and business confidence. Therefore, cooperation between ASEAN and external partners beyond its traditional partners to engage with the dynamism occurring in the region is very important, especially to grow our economies further and to counter the economic impact of COVID-19. It is also to be noted Currently, ASEAN countries are pushing to restart at least some economic activity. Most have eased their lockdowns, community quarantines, stay-at-home orders, temporary business closures, and travel restriction or prohibition to contain the virus. Borders are gradually reopening too. A handful of other green lists have been set up between key partners, allowing business travel with restriction. Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, the implementation of large-scale social distancing policy in multiple regions, business closures, and movement restrictions are needed to fight pandemic, but indeed also causing the economic construction. And it is also experienced by Indonesia. On that note, one of the responses that has been carried out by the government of Indonesia to the pandemic is to continue supporting the vulnerable groups through social protection programs. The government allocated 695 million, I repeat, 695 trillion Indonesian rupiah in stimulus spending in 2020 to support the economy and fund the pandemic response. It is also to be noted that the Ministry of Agriculture of the Republic of Indonesia has been implementing its subsidized credit scheme program to support the agricultural sector with an amount of 50 trillion Indonesian rupiah. Therefore, despite the negative trade value compared to 2019, food trade grew in terms of export and import. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in this difficult situation, especially economic situation, could not be faced without cooperation amongst countries. It should be acknowledged that enhancement of economic and investment cooperation bilaterally and regionally is really needed right now. Hence, allow me to take this opportunity to introduce to you two programs to be conducted by the Indonesian government to enhance the economic and investment cooperation bilaterally and regionally, namely Indonesia, Latin America and Caribbean, INALAC, and Business Forum and Trade Expo Indonesia, PEI. Indonesia, Latin America, Caribbean, INALAC Business Forum was held virtually on 9 to 11 November this year. INALAC Business Forum is the first ever milestone initiated by Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia in bringing and facilitating economy-centric cooperation between Indonesia, Latin America, and the Caribbean countries. Established in 2019, this forum managed to yield business deal worth more than 33 million US dollars and about 5 billion investment committed for Indonesia. INALAC Business Forum presents yet another milestone in facilitating and connecting past year and new prospective participants of both regions through online exhibition and agenda profitable online event series conducted citily. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the digital platform is aimed to ease and facilitate the interaction of business people from Indonesia and Latin America and the Caribbean. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as I said earlier, another annual program held by Indonesian government is Trade Expo Indonesia. This year, it was held virtually on 10 to 16 November 2020. It is to be noted, in addition to being able to visit the exhibition booth virtually, TEI 2020 also has programs, trade, tourism, and investment seminars, regional discussion, business counseling, and business matchings. It should be mentioned that the total transactions during TEI 2019 reached 10.96 billion US dollar. It is an increase of 29% from the transaction value TEA 2018, amounting to 80.49, I repeat, 8.49 million US dollar. Of the 10.96 billion, the largest transaction is in investment, 9.29 million. Product sales, 1.54 billion. And services, 120 million. I'd also like to bring to your attention that the most wanted products during the TEI 2019 are processed food, chemical and paper products, palm oil, agricultural products, and coffee. Other than visit to booths, Trade Expo Indonesia has the following programs during this event, which are trade, tourism, and investment seminar to discuss on how to do or start business in Indonesia. Regional discussion as the perfect opportunity for exporters to get an insight of the potential products and access to foreign markets. Business matching, which are matching program designed exclusively for Trade Expo Indonesia, and business counseling to provide access of information and with how to penetrating foreign markets. This is a great resource for new and experienced exporters alike. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, I would like to conclude my remarks by once again expressing our gratitude for your participation on this event, hoping that our ties on cooperation become stronger the year to come, and also for your upcoming participation on INALAC Business Forum 2021 and Trade Expo Indonesia 2021. I thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor embajador, acreditado ante la República Bolivariana de Venezuela, el embajador de la República de Indonesia, Imam Edi Mulyono, que como lo dijo nuestro canciller hace un momento, hace apenas 3 días que presentó las cartas credenciales ante el señor presidente de la República
his credentials before the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Thank you very much for these remarks, because there you mentioned the bilateral relations and how these bilateral relations becomes a multilateral one at the regional, sub-regional level, or the relation between the countries and these two levels. Also, the proposal of Indonesia with the Entrepreneurial Forum, and another forum in its 2nd edition with Latin America and the Caribbean. Recently, 2 weeks ago, various entrepreneurs from our governorships in Venezuela took part in this forum to see the potentials of both sides for investments and trade. And the headquarters of the Secretary General of ASEAN is in Jakarta, in the capital of Indonesians, and in the program of relationship with ASEAN in 2021 or 2022, we will send interns to get familiar with these organizations so we can strengthen the relations between us. So thank you very much, dear Ambassador. Now we are going to give the floor saw the Chargé d'Affaires of Malaysia in Venezuela, Nahamat Raisul Nizam bin Zulkifli. He's going to give us the vision and the work performed by Malaysia, not only in Venezuela, but also its role within ASEAN. Thank you very much. You have the floor, Mr. Chargé d'Affaires.
Your Excellency, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jorge Arreaza, Your Excellency, Vice Minister of Asia, Robert Molina, Ambassador of Vietnam, His Excellency Levi Duyen, Ambassador of Indonesia, His Excellency Papan Iman Edwin Mulyono, Senior Directors of the Ministries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all. My name is Mohd Raisul Nizam Zulkifli, Chargé d'Affaires of the Embassy of Malaysia to Venezuela, and today, in conjunction with the third ASEAN gathering with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Venezuela, we would like to share Malaysia's experience in mitigating the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as its relations to the measures taken by Malaysia along with the ASEAN counterparts against this malicious threat. This COVID-19 pandemic has caused a global crisis, and while Malaysia has controlled the infection like most countries with early measures against exposure to the virus, the measures and mitigation efforts played an important role more than ever. Malaysia recorded its first case of COVID-19 on January 24, 2020, with a stable number of reported cases until March 2020, where there was an exponential spike due to a massive religious gathering in Kuala Lumpur. This caused Malaysia to be the hardest hit COVID-19 country in Southeast Asia at the time. However, in order to curb the transmission and better manage the clusters, Malaysian government quickly imposed the Movement Control Order, or MCO. This measure, together with targeted screening, have managed to slow the spread of COVID-19 epidemic. By early June, with only 2 cases daily, and allowing the Malaysians to re-strategize its measures in mitigating the spread and in eliminating the chain reactions. However, I also wish to highlight that the MCO, effective as it was, has required major economic sacrifices. This, in addition to the COVID-19 implication at the global scales, more importantly, it has threatened the budget for most Malaysian households. These households often carry a great deal of debt and have little savings. Without a source of income, many households could quickly lose access to necessities like food or housing. In response, the Malaysian government has created a series of stimulus packages. 3 economic stimulus packages, to be precise, were created to cushion the impact of the shrinking economy. From this perspective, Malaysia has approved almost $7.8 billion economic stimulus packages since February to September 2020. This is in order to address the COVID-19 outbreak effectively and to stay afloat in our economic performances. These aids not only include in cash aid and wage subsidies for the small businesses and the general public, but also investment efforts in ICT and e-commerce to support and to help the boost and maintain our economy by both government and private sectors from At this juncture, Malaysia understood that it is important to maintain our digitalization network connectivity and smart initiatives in order to continue our economic activities digitally and allowing our people to keep their jobs even though they could not be present at their offices. Malaysia is proud that these stimulus packages implemented in my country were able to decrease these negative cash flow rates among the Malaysian respondents to levels at or below to those that persisted before the COVID 19 crisis, specifically from the month of April to June 2020, when we lifted the MCO and implemented the recovery MCO on June 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, during these unprecedented times, Malaysia also depended on its leading health agency, the Ministry of Health, as our front lines and mitigation strategies in combating the pandemic. Our Ministry of Health, led by Dr. Noor Nisham Abdullah and his team, are still playing a crucial role in ensuring maximum readiness to contain the spread of the virus. One of the very early strategies was the placement of thermal scanners by early January 2020 at all access points in the country. This was done to further enhance the detection of fever among tourists and also locals returning from abroad. Malaysians who returned from Wuhan were screened, identified, and isolated in special quarantine areas for COVID 19. This measure, in fact, also involved airline crews as well as the staff of the ministry. Additional locations were also provided to our health teams to acquire more equipment in our efforts to combat these threats. The subsequent key step taken by the Ministry of Health of my country to overcome the spread of COVID 19 was to increase the number of hospitals that could treat COVID 19 cases. There was also a group effort between public and private hospitals to accommodate the growing numbers of cases of infection, comprising university hospitals and the Ministry of Defense hospitals. Moreover, in alliance involving 38 professional medical societies from different countries was also established in March 2020 to support our Ministry of Health in the area of health care. The intention of this coalition was to keep the community well informed and to ensure that information made available was true and accurate. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia was one of the first countries to come out with various quick responses to protect its citizens from COVID. The aim, like any other country, was to minimize the economic and social impacts, limiting its spreading and provide care for its citizens. Additionally, we also received many third-party contributions in the fight to overcome this pandemic. Among others include the first, the mainstream and social media. The media, celebrities, and other influencers play an important role to appeal to the public to stay at home and avoid mass gatherings. The media has started to use the hashtag stay at home, and this has been used widely in the Malaysian media until today. Secondly, NGOs. Malaysian NGOs have been actively helping those who are affected by this pandemic. They have been providing food, shelter for the homeless, and have even given out money to help those in need. Some NGOs have also helped the public by providing protective masks, disinfection chambers, and helping to educate citizens regarding COVID 19. For instance, several Malaysian fashion designers associated with the Malaysian Official Designers Association, they have produced personal protective equipment for our local medical staff. Prison inmates and persons with disabilities groups have also been involved in sewing protective gear for frontlines regardless of their current situation. Thirdly, public institutions, educational institutions, schools, and higher educations have had to close due to COVID 19. However, this has not stopped researchers from various universities from helping citizens in fighting this pandemic. In fact, local universities has produced an instant hand sanitizer and face shields and also raise funds in order to help students affected by this virus. Fourthly, Malaysian researchers. Well, the pandemic has also created opportunities for Malaysian researchers to play their part by developing different technologies to help Malaysians facing this pandemic. For examples of these developments include, for instance, some COVID-19 rapid test kits, the creation of face shields using 3D printing, and the manufacture of sanitizing tunnels. All of these creative ideas show that Malaysians are acting together to battle against COVID 19. Ladies and gentlemen, as one of the first regions to be affected by the outbreak of the COVID 19, Southeast Asia is seeing a rapid growth in the number of confirmed cases. Now, with the economic downturn caused by domestic containment measures and global disruption to trade, tourism, and production, the region is now facing the prospects of the post-global financial shock and recession. Undoubtedly, all ASEAN member states are facing the socio-economic impact of the COVID-19. In the early stages of the pandemic, the rapid spread of the virus in China led to the disruption of supply chains and freezing demand, limiting the flows of travel, but also the trade and the investment. As the rate of infection rose in Southeast Asia, the impact of the pandemic brought immediate interruption to all sectors of the economic activities, primarily by containment measures imposed through lockdowns, community quarantines, temporary business and school closures, and everything for the sake of social protection. Tourism is a particularly important sector for Southeast Asia. Early on in the crisis, the Chinese government imposed a good travel ban on its citizens. This had an immediate economic impact as the Chinese account for 70% of all tourists in the Asian region. This economic impact on the tourism sector in Southeast Asia deepened as the virus spread globally to other countries and regions. Furthermore, governments of the ASEAN member states imposed stringent domestic containment measures. Those restrictions of large-scale events include also restaurants and leisure, as well as school closures and lockdowns, and those are having a negative impact on economic activities. These lockdown measures although to a different scale and scope, needed to be done are subtly slowing down or even stopping some economic activities in some certain sectors. They also create a ripple effect to other neighboring countries as well. Nevertheless, while Southeast Asian countries made different policy decisions in response to the pandemic, there has been an increasing policy convergence and a more united regional response under the ambit of ASEAN. The increasing policy convergence was facilitated by discussions in the context of ASEAN and its several response mechanisms that had already been in place. ASEAN high-level officials met as early as January to prepare a region-wide response, as seen in the ASEAN Collective Response to the outbreak of coronavirus disease in 2019. During the 26th ASEAN Economic Ministers retreat in Da Nang, Vietnam on March 10, 2020, the AIM agreed on a statement strengthening ASEAN's economic resilience in response to the outbreak of the COVID-19, which called for collective action to mitigate the impact of the virus by working with external and development partners. The statement focuses on leveraging technology, digital trade, and trade facilitation platforms such as the ASEAN Single Window in order to foster supply chain connectivity and to allow businesses, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises, so they continue operating amid the COVID-19 effects. Furthermore, ASEAN has also proposed to establish a COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund. This is to boost emergency stockpiles for future outbreaks. Then ASEAN Plus 3, that includes Japan, South Korea, and China, has been invited to contribute for this fund and to finance and resource mobilization, as it is crucial to assist the member states in procuring medical supplies and equipment as currently lacking in some regions during this post-impact of this pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, it should be noted that although this pandemic hit the Asian region first, its countries, including emerging ASEAN, have to date recorded significantly lower transmission of fatality rates per capita than any other regions. The COVID-19 pandemic is a story of lives and livelihoods. Today, the countries of Southeast Asia have managed to limit the rate of infections and the number of deaths associated with the disease. The next step will be to spur an enduring economic recovery through identifying and activating the right levers. To do so, policymakers and executives could seek to reimagine their country's economies and invest in job creating policies and technologies that could position them well in the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, the war against COVID-19 is far from over. Malaysia, as we speak, is still combating the third wave of the vicious pandemic as we speak. However, since the first case, the Malaysian government's response to the outbreak was ambitious. On one side, the effective emergency plan launched by the government after just 500 cases across the country has helped to show a significant decline in new cases and a high ratio of recoveries. On the other side, Malaysians, regardless of race, religion, and ideology, are trying to help the government and the country is going forward today. As mentioned by my foreign ministers, Dr. Seri Hishamuddin Hussein, the COVID 19 crisis really tested many countries, and Malaysia is no exception. We believe during this difficult period, all countries need to unite in facing the new landscape of the world. It has been proven without pride and ego and humility that small countries are able to manage this crisis well. It also proves small countries have value and ability and do not have to depend on the agenda of big power. In fact, after this crisis stopped, Malaysia and small countries need to make choices. Whether you want to continue to strengthen your cooperation and unity or you want to work alone. Malaysia will surely choose a path that can guarantee the future that our children and grandchildren can be proud of. It should be understood that during this post pandemic era of COVID 19, everything is challenging enough, and not country will be able to handle it alone. For this reason, Malaysia often says that it is important for ASEAN countries to unite and cooperate closely with our close allies. This is the key to success for all. Thank you.
Thank you to the Chargé d'Affaires of Malaysia in Venezuela, Muhammad Raisul Nizam bin Zulkifli, for your kind words and your comprehensive, insightful address regarding the strategy of Malaysia to tackle COVID-19 and all the measures taken to protect the health of the Malaysian people, to protect employment, in order to protect comprehensively first the people, but also to protect the economy and development. All the measures implemented have helped in mitigating the effect of this pandemic that has affected the world in 2020. Mr. Muhammad Raisul since 2018 has been taken part and parcel of these meetings. He has witnessed the organization and the implementation of this process, and I'm sure he will continue following up the evolution of the relations between ASEAN and Venezuela. Thank you again, sir, for your presentations. Now, we are going to give the floor to the President of Venezuelan Bank of Foreign Trade, of the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Finance, Mr. Guillermo Lara. He's going to speak about the potentials Venezuela can offer, and he's going to talk about the new constitutional law, some of the elements of this fresh anti-blockade law. So we give the floor to Mr. Guillermo Lara. Dear ambassadors, commercial counselors, vice ministers, authorities of the Bolivarian government, the brothers and sisters. On behalf of the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro Moros, and the Vice President and Minister of the Economy, Finance and Foreign Trade, thank you very much for this invitation to attend this third gathering in the framework of the week of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. This is a summary of the commercial policies that we are fostering in our ministry and bank. I want to share with you as a representative of your government in Venezuela and as natural contacts with investors, entrepreneurs, and business chambers. As you know, President of the Republic, Nicolas Maduro, devised the Bolivarian Economic Agenda 2015 with the 15 engines devised to foster the productive apparatus and diversify the economy. In this agenda, the export engine, it's our goal to attain through this bank and through this legal framework we find in the Homeland Plan. We have two main objectives. First, to opening our market. Venezuela has been historically an oil-producing nation that fostered input over the non-traditional exports, and especially with our neighbors and the U.S. For 20 years, with the arrival of Commander Chavez, a revolution that diversified our commercial partners, and today we want to consolidate the legal framework to increase the relation with extra-regional countries, including ASEAN. The second objective, the relation between the Venezuelan entrepreneurs and with ASEAN, especially with Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia, to generate goods and services and foreign currency. We need to break with the paradigm of 100 years imposed by our neighbor of the north, the culture of input, monoproductive culture, where capitals were invested in a circumstantial manner, but not in a structured fashion. Oil rentierism has generated distortions that have made us vulnerable to foreign attacks, threatening the multilateral commercial system. Through this Bolivarian economic agenda, we have want to diversify our exports, to reach new partners, incentivize investments, to have better commercial relations. To this end, I want to talk about my country with 17 customs offices nationwide, 7 ports, including a specialized terminal with containers, among the best and most modern of the region. Also, 10 airports ready to reopen in December and ready for cargo negotiations that we have started with some of the airlines that visit our country, especially Turkish Airlines. 24.5% of the national territory has agricultural potential. It is one of the main elements for foreign investors. Our export strength in coffee, cocoa, rum, tropical fruits, pulses, seeds, vegetables is because of the quality of our soil. Also, we have the economic exclusive zone, which is 3 times larger than the land territory. Thanks to the Bird Islands, we are neighbors of the English Caribbean, France, Netherlands, and this huge water space. It has a great tourist potential in Los Roques, La Tortuga, but also there we produce hydrobiological products. Products such as shrimp, crab, bellfish have been widely accepted not only in Europe but also in Asia as well. And we are negotiating new health protocols to open new fresh markets. We have the largest oil reserve worldwide and largest reserve of strategic minerals, but we have the potential to export 300 products that we can send to many countries. We want to foster the following priority products, focusing in those that can export tomorrow. Those are cacao, cocoa and chocolate, coffee, hydrobiological products. Those are the flagships. But we can also mention the calla lily, fruits, mango, tangerine, pineapple, honey, beans, sesame, among others. In September, we opened a gate to Iraq to export livestock. 3,700 head of cattle were sent there, and there will be another shipment next week. And ASEAN could be an essential market in this field. This was the result of the work of our ambassador in Iraq, and he sent us our health requirements, and we coordinated the export. And that was thanks to the network of diplomatic articulation. You are our best friends. Through your support, we're going to start the intensive negotiations to opening new markets. Taking as a reference the commercial development agreement that we signed with Turkey, we are ready to start negotiations with the ASEAN. In this sense, I ask your support. Give us all the tariff, health, and regulatory requirements regarding the products above mentioned, so our exporters are ready. I take this opportunity to inform that the commercial intelligence unit, we are preparing the guideline for the exporters for Asia. This material will be very useful for our business sector. The office of this bank are open to any comment, remark, recommendation, and together we get closer to ASEAN. Thank you very much.
What makes us fight? What makes us believe in the future? Our place and our richness. Shared dreams that are a reality. We are open to the ones that take us to the highest, to the awaken of the deep abundance, to the visions that reveal opportunities. We are open. Like windows that see horizons, like books that imagine stories to be written, like the strong and warm arms of our people. We are open to opportunities, to our siblings, to keep believing. Venezuela, open to the future.
Thank you to the President of the Bank of Foreign Trade, Guillermo Lara. He was appointed to this position just a week ago. And he's responsible for these policies that he explained. And there we saw the various elements, products offered to the investors, and the potential relations with the 10 member countries of ASEAN, with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And also we saw a wonderful video showcasing our potentials, our geography, our diversity, and our people. And that's precisely the purpose of this dialogue, to showcase our diversity in technical, religious, cultural, economic, commercial fields. Our diversity, which is nurturing our relations. I'd like also to stress in closing the anti-blockade law for national development and the guarantee of human rights. This is a fresh law that has just passed by the Constituent Assembly with constitutional rank. And there we have a special legal framework and temporary framework to provide public powers with the legal tools to push back, mitigate, and reduce in an effective fashion, urgent and necessary, the results, the consequences over the people and the Venezuela authorities, the illegal coercive measures that violate the right to self-determination, to independence, to the free determination of the peoples to choose their own authorities and political system. Elements enshrined in the Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation of ASEAN that was mentioned by Foreign Minister Arreaza. So unilateral, illegal, coercive measures and other measures, restrictive and punitive measures, resulting from decisions of other states or group of states, or omissions by these states, by international organizations and other public entities. In this fashion, Venezuela, even though we have been harassed, bullied, and even threatened with the use of military force, a country that has been blocked, well, we are still open to the world. We set clear rules for investment, trade, for a win-win relationship based on our unique geographical location with the very important infrastructures of road, highways, ports, and airports, but also with industrial areas nationwide that are idle because of the coercive measures, and today are open for foreign investors. So we can pursue with the development we deserve. We have the right to development enshrined by the UN Charter. All the peoples of the world have the right to develop, and Venezuela today is open. More and more, we want to use and tap our potentials to remain connected to the world and continue exchanging with all of those who respect international law. With these words, and excusing Foreign Minister who had to leave the room because he is celebrating the 200th anniversary of the signing of the treaty between the Kingdom of Spain and what was at that time the Great Colombia, the Treaty of Regularization of the War. That was one of the most important treaties signed in the world that for 200 years has contributed to the international humanitarian law. Also, next to me we have our minister counselor, and she has helped in writing the ASEAN book. So we are also working in the creation and systematization of experiences through these books. Very well, thank you very much to you all, those who have connected. 180 and 110 people were connected from various corners of the world, including the ASEAN nations and other nation countries, Oceania and the Pacific and Latin America, universities, from our public administration as well. So they have been connected. So let's get ready to celebrate the full encounter next year, and let's continue open the path to friendship, cooperation, the path to respect of international law and the respect of the associations and linkages that lead to cultural, economic wealth. Very well. Thank you so much, and see you in the fourth gathering, ASEAN Venezuela. Thank you very much.